The movie starts with a man performing black magic. Later that day, two girls named Osner and Kay visit the man who performed the black magic. He asks them to pray, and after that, to tell him about the reason for their visit. So does after praying, Osner asks the wizard about her future and her marriage, whether she will marry her aunt's son Kudret as she loves him. The wizard then uses a water with black coal in it and summons a djinn for answers. The djinn then uses Kay as a medium and warns Osner that she has to stay away from Kudret, as he will be her destruction. The wizard does the same and tells her to stay away from Kudret, as the djinn's answers has never been wrong. As time passed by, and 12 years later, Osner visits Kudret in a meat shop which he owns. And there she threatened him to be present in their child's life, as she is 4 months pregnant and cannot be aborted at this point. The argument escalates and Kudret slaps Osner, which results in her to fall to the ground, which causes her to bleed. She was taken to the hospital, and there Kudret tells her that the baby has passed away and the doctors have done the procedures for her. He then breaks up with her and warns her that he will expose their affair to her father if she does not stay away from him. Later that night, Kudret has a dream in which his daughter Cheda is holding her 2 eyes in her hands and asks for his help to get her vision back. He wakes up from the dream scared and checks up on his daughter as he feels guilty, as he was the reason why his daughter has lost her vision. Next day, Osner goes to visit the wizard as Kudret has broken up the relationship and she wants to use the black magic and make Kudret to fall in love with her. The wizard then tells her that he will cast a powerful curse on Kudret's wife, Nisa, called Pig Spell, in which a djinn will possess Nisa and kill the blood relations related to her. He also tells her about the consequences of the spell and asks for a hair or any biological things related to Nisa to cast the spell. On the same night, he kills a pig and takes its intestine as well as a dead person's bone to perform the ritual to cast the spell. Next day, Osner visits Kudret's house, where she gets Nisa's hair and a sanitary pad with blood from the bathroom while she was visiting them. Later on, the wizard does the ritual to cast the spell on Nisa, as Osner has got the necessary items. After the ritual, he informs Osner that the curse will take 5 nights to complete the work. On the first night after the ritual in Kudret's house at 12 a.m., Nisa wakes up to pray, and while she was praying, the pig's head, which was used to cast the spell, falls from the ceiling, scaring her. She ran from there, seeing the head in fear. On the morning, she tells her bedridden mother-in-law about the previous night's incident, and she thinks that it is as some illusion. As the day goes by, she sees Sadah's room looking messy, so she cleans up the room. While doing so, she sees a doll, which was a gift from Osner, under the bed. Something happens to her, and suddenly she cuts the doll's hair and eats it, which suffocates her, causing her to fall unconscious. On the second night, strange things starts to happen around Osner too, as she sees her dead husband in her room blaming her for his death, as she never loved, and that was the reason he killed himself. Suddenly, he runs towards her. Hearing the screaming, her late husband's mother comes to her rescue. In the morning, Nisa does some cooking and cleans around the house, while she leaves the kitchen. For a moment, her bedridden mother-in-law starts to walk towards the kitchen and pour a hot soup that was in the stovetop on herself and gets burned to death. Nisa encounters the incident and gets scared. On the same day, funeral is held for her mother-in-law. On the third night, Kudret comes home after his work and tries to enter his house, but the keys does not work. He tries to call his wife. Then suddenly the door slowly opens, and he hears his daughter's voice blaming him for his irresponsibility during her birth, which caused her vision. While he was looking around for his daughter, 2 djinns similar to his wife and Osner scare him. Hearing his screaming, Teda rushes towards him and the djinns disappear. After the incident in the morning, Kudret asks his wife regarding his mom's accident that she saw, and he decides to ask for help from a priest in the mosque. Later, the priest shares his experience in which his wife was killed by a djinn, and that it was the moment which made him to become a priest and help those who are in need. On the same night, Nisa hears some strange sound from her basement and walks towards a bathroom in the basement and sees her dead mother-in-law. Scared, she runs from there to her bedroom and closes the door to her room and starts to pray. Her husband rushes towards her as he heard her screaming. On the other hand, in Osner's house, the power goes off while she was getting ready for bed. She hears someone singing lullaby from the living room, so she walked towards the living room as she was alone in the house and sees Nisa holding a stillborn baby. The jinn in Nisa's appearance tells her that the baby which she lost was a male child and had birth defects, as the child was conceived by her aunt's son. The jinn then scares Oznur, leaving her in a feared state. After the incident, she calls the wizard and asks whether she will be harmed because of the spell, as she is experiencing some evil presence around her. Oznur's mother-in-law hears the conversation that Oznur has with Wizard and rushes to tell Kudret and warn him about the spell. In Kudret's house, something strange starts to happen again to Nisa while she was dressing Cheda. Nisa grabs a rope and tries to hang herself and tries to commit suicide. As she was about to choke, Kudret saves her and takes her to Priest, leaving Cheda to Oznur's mother-in-law, who came to visit him. Oznur, on the hand, has the similar experience as Nisa, while she was having her dinner and gets killed. Since it is already fifth night, Kudret and Nisa reach the priest in the mosque, and Kudret informs him about the conversation that Oznur had with the wizard, as her mother-in-law had informed him. The priest tells Kudret it is a difficult process, as the spell is very dangerous, and they take Nisa inside the basement of the mosque to the prayer hall and start performing exorcism on her. While the priest was in the process, the jinn overpowers him and tries to kill Kudret, but the priest uses a sacred scarf around Nisa's face and tries to go on with the process. It then tries to play with the priest's emotions by using his wife, but he focuses on the process. While in the process of doing exorcism, the priest hits Nisa with a log, which leads her to her death. Nisa's death triggers Kudret. He attacks the priest, blaming him for his wife's death. As he was choking the priest sees Cheda outside the hall and tells Kudret that his wife was just under the influence and the jinn is in his daughter's body. It is then revealed that the sanitary pad that Oznur gave to the wizard was Cheda's, and Cheda was the one who killed Oznur. Later on, Kudret, along with his daughter and wife, are dead, and the priest is charged for their deaths.